Dan Abbott. I'm making a little video on how to extract data from an existing drawing. What I'm going to use is this foundation drawing, and I will show you that it actually consists of a footing. It looks like this, and the footing goes around the outside wall of the foundation. What I'm going to do is answer these questions. The first question is what the area of all concrete walls, including the 3 piers, which are those piers right there in the center of the foundation. To answer that quickly, what I'm going to do is start by freezing the layer that the footing is on. Now I'm going to use a command called boundary, although there are several ways that I could do this, but the boundary command is going to allow me to do something pretty quickly, especially as something gets more complex. I'm going to change the object type from polyline to region. I'm going to pick a point, and I'm going to pick a point right there, and everything that highlights, because of ray tracing, is now going to turn into, well, not turn into, they'll have a region that is the same exact shape and size of those entities that I encountered on top of it. The region is a two-dimensional 3D object, which means I can start by subtracting from the outside the inside. Which means I now have a single entity that consists of just the lines you see. But now what I have to do is then subtract from that the inside wall of this and the inside wall of that. Now I have a single entity that consists of the walls, but I have to add in the piers. To do that, I'm going to do the union command. I'm going to union this with each one of those piers, which I can actually select by putting a window around it. Now that gives me a single entity that's sitting on top of that, and that single entity has an area. So if I go to the area command and then use the object option and say what's the area of this, it's 99.222 square feet. 99.22 square feet is letter B. Now I'll erase that. Now we're back to having just individual lines. The total distance from the intersection at footing A, well, I need to get the footings back on now. I'm going to go back up, thaw that layer, and I'm going to use the distance command, DIST, to go from that corner to that corner. The area is given to me 19 feet 1 1/4 inches. If I look at this, it looks like that's going to be D. We go down to the next one, the total. By the way, there is a measure tool up here in AutoCAD. You use something called a quick measurement. Quick measurement allows you to just hover over things to find out what overall dimensions are, but those are entire entities. If you really want to go back to distance, you've got to pick it specifically because there's no entity that goes from here to here. Get the same number. Also possible, of course, to draw a line that goes from that corner to this corner, and then find out what the properties are of that line by either looking at quick properties, which is going to give you the length right here, or going to the actual properties command. Now it says the total area of all footings, including the 3 footings that support the piers, which are all over here. For that, I'm going to go and do the same thing I did earlier, is to freeze the layer that I don't want. So that gives me this. Now I can go back in and do the same thing I did before with the boundary command. Make it regions, pick a point, pick that point right there, and I'm going to say let's subtract from this. Now let's take that and subtract from that this, and now again we union that region that was created, that region, and again we'll do that. Now I've created a single entity. I go to the area command, use the object option, I pick that entity, and it tells me that the area is 206.4444 square feet, which would be answer D. Now I'm going to erase that. Total distance from the center of the concrete slab area to the center of the fireplace. That's the center of that to the center of this. I don't need to bring anything back for that. Instead, I go back to my measure command, and instead of doing quick, I'm just going to do distance. If I hold this, increase the size of the foundation using the stretch command. Okay, a crossing window E to F, use the stretch command to go up 2 feet 6 inches. So I come over here, there's E to F, I go to the stretch command, I type C for crossing, so I can get a crossing window. So let me thaw everything I froze so that I can get a hold of everything as I go through here. Here we go. Now I'm going to go to the stretch command. I need a crossing window, so either I go right to left, or left to right doesn't do it. I say C for crossing window, then I can go like this. That's going to go straight up. I want to make sure I've got polar tracking on, Turn that on so it goes straight up like that, 2 feet 6 inches. And the other thing I need to do is to stretch to the right 18 inches. Go back in the stretch command, put a crossing window around it, get polar tracking on 18 inches. Now the new area of the wall, not including the piers, so it's just the wall. So for that, I will freeze this once again. I just won't bother to add those in. Do the boundary command. I'm going to get regions once again. I'm going to pick a point in here. I'm going to use the subtract command and say subtract from this outside shape, the inside shape, subtract from the combination, this big thing, that and that. Here we go. Now I've got one entity, area, object, pick that one entity, and it tells me that it is 101.8889. That would be answer D. That's how you pull data out of an AutoCAD drawing. There's other ways to get different data as well. And that measure tool up here does show you the kinds of things you can get, including angles. Volume is something that you get using mass properties or using that tool, and that would have to be in a three-dimensional object.